intro to this paper. So if you click that link, it'll take you to this research article, Extraneous Factors in Judicial Decisions. And so have a look through this, see if you can get the ruling, or get the setup down. And yeah, what they're doing is they're looking at a long time with several judges on a panel. So these judges are, if I remember correctly, in Israel, and they are parole board judges. And the the judges are seeing people in the order in which their dockets appear. And so these dockets just show up in random order. Depending how long they took with the one before, they may stop at a different point. But they also record when the judges have their 2 daily food breaks. They get a little lunch, and they get a little sort of afternoon tea or something like that. And what they find is, I don't know, alternatively heartbreaking and fascinating, maybe at the same time. Because these are people whose job is to be impartial. But the problem is the brain doesn't really do impartial. The brain works differently depending on how much what the blood sugar is, basically. So that's the idea of this. But I want you to look at the data. And so here's our little headline thing. We find that the percentage of favorable rulings, so these are people that are granted parole, drops gradually from about 65%. So first thing in the morning, if you happen to come up first on the docket, you got about a 2 and a 3 chance of getting parole and getting out of there. But it goes down. It goes down, 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 and it goes down to nearly zero within each session as the judges start to get hungry. And when asked about it, these judges had no idea this was happening. And they said that, they judge according to the merits of each case, naturally. But the cases are randomized. There aren't just good people in the morning and bad people right before lunch. It's just all the people in whatever order. And so you're going to read through it, have a look at the experimental setup. But here we go. So this is right after breakfast when they arrive at work. And so this is where they are granting parole to about 2/3. And then look, as the morning goes on, look at that line go down, 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 down. And I thought this might be a couple years worth of data, or maybe this is just a couple months worth of data, but it was a lot of data. Anyway, down here is where they take a break at the point at which they're practically at 0% chance. They get some lunch in them, and blood sugar goes up again. And look at that. Bam, they're right at the same level they were at in the morning. And it goes down, down, down. No, it doesn't go down quite as far because they take a break after a certain number of cases, and they're going to have a nice little snack, nice little afternoon snack. And bam, after that Snickers bar or whatever it is, shoots right back up again. And then it craters down there. So I guess they just had candy or something, maybe, for that last particular one. But yeah. So this is happening. The idea is that this is happening not just in judges who are impartial and highly trained, and people where this definitely should not be happening. But now imagine highway drivers. There are people there where it's been a long time since they had breakfast. And yeah, you may run into people that are down here on their little decision curve. There are parts of the brain that just do not work well. And these are these sort of higher decision functions. Things like compassion, things like mercy, like trying to understand the full story. The brain can react pretty well on like automatic mode, the regular old almost animal brain. Well, and yeah, apparently that brain, which runs kind of without any extra sugar, does not really, it's just like, no, you were judged guilty, you are guilty forever. Yeah, boom, I'm hungry. But yeah, so this suggests, and there are other studies that apparently back this up, that higher neural functions, like this sort of complex decision making and weighing up of options, it's actually pretty intensive in terms of energy. And when you have high sugar levels, that part of your brain, that medial prefrontal cortex, is able to light up and is able to do its job. And yeah, at times when you run a little bit low, that part of your brain just gets shut off and mothballed, essentially. So yeah, there's nowhere else for your compassionate decisions to come from. And so you just don't make them. You are incapable of making them. Consider this when you're dealing with other people, because everybody's actually like this. If you look at when crimes happen, it tends to be at night, or it tends to be a long time since somebody's eaten. When people are just sort of ranting in the street, or it even happens in some Alzheimer's patients. First thing in the morning, right after they've had breakfast, they'll actually remember things. And then it's called sundowner syndrome. As you go on throughout the day, they lose track of things, and by evening, they've just lost it. And once again, I guess coming back to free will, and this is another Robert Sapolsky idea, definitely not my own. Yeah. Um, but he says that, well, yeah. So does it, if free will exists, does the person with sundowner's Alzheimer's, do they have the free will to remember in the morning? And do they just choose not to remember their name or your name when it gets to nightfall? Or is it just that the brain works differently at different times? And there's sometimes when choice is kind of out of our hands. And so, yeah, they're big questions. And this is a good paper for getting into those. And then the last paper that I have, which is essentially the pig's heads in jars. I just want you to read that with amazement and appreciation for the weirdness of the world we live in. All right, thank you. That's all I've got for you today.